Hey guys, I hope everyone's doing well this week. I finally got around to rewatching the original Blade Runner in preparation for the sequel, Blade Runner 2049. Now, for those who may or may not know, the original Blade Runner was directed by Ridley Scott, came out in the early 1980s, and was one of the most influential films as far as the sci-fi, neo-noir, and cyberpunk genre. We've gotten so many countless films over the years that have sort of developed out of the inspiration they got from this film. Whether it's The Matrix, Dark City, animes like Ghost in the Shell, Akira, and Cowboy Bebop. This film is truly a landmark as far as its own influence goes. And it's amazing that it's taken this long for us to get a new Blade Runner. Now, I'll admit, when I first watched Blade Runner a long time ago, I can't even tell you, it's probably been about 7 years, I didn't quite see what was so great about it at the time. I think part of it was I was a little too young to really comprehend everything I was seeing. I didn't quite understand the sort of atmosphere and the pacing and certain things that I've really grown to appreciate now. The art in that film, that's what really stands out. Now that I'm older and we've got quality like high def and Blu-ray, I was really excited to revisit this film and see what I thought of it now. So I ended up rewatching the final cut, and I can't recommend that version enough. I don't even remember what version I saw it in originally. It could have been the final cut for all I know. But definitely start there. That's what I would say. Now, if you're thinking about seeing Blade Runner 2049 and you haven't seen the original, please watch the original first. You might enjoy this film on its own, don't get me wrong, but you really need to understand what this film is. In the original, it's pretty much a love letter to that film. It took everything about the original film and updated it, and updated itself in the future. It takes place, the original took place in 2019, and now this one is taking place in 2049, so there's a 30-year update there. Keep in mind, this film is pretty long. They use lots of drawn out scenes to really show off the amazing cinematography and art and all the contrast and color that you're going to be seeing. It's amazing. Visually, this film, right now off the top of my head, I can't even compare just how incredibly gorgeous this film looks like to anything else I've seen. It's insane. But for those of you who are like thinking, oh, Ryan Gosling, oh, Harrison Ford, hopefully there's going to be tons of action in this film. I mean, there is some action, don't get me wrong, and there's more than there was in the original, but that's not what these films are truly about. In this film, we have director Denis Villeneuve, who, he's actually become a really renowned director out of nowhere, from Sicario, Arrival. I'll be honest, I still need to watch both of those films. It's pretty sad, but this guy, I'm telling you, he's gonna be, you gotta watch out for him, because what he's doing now is just incredible. Now, going into this film, there's a little bit of backstory that you're introduced in. Same with the original. They kind of did a similar way of introducing the world. Essentially, there are people out there called replicants, which are like artificial humans. One of the main things that are different about them is that they have super strength and they aren't quite as developed as we are in certain ways. Ryan Gosling plays Kay, an LAPD officer who ends up becoming what they call a Blade Runner, which is someone who retires or kills replicants. So he's just like Harrison Ford's character Rick Deckard was in the original Blade Runner, except for one teeny tiny, possibly big difference. That is, he himself is a replicant. Now, why would he want to kill his own kind, essentially? Well, the thing is, he's one of the newer models who are sort of in this state where they are forced to obey their creator and whoever has programmed them, essentially, to become the person they are now. There were these older ones created by the Tyrell Corporation, which is no longer here due to events that took place a couple years past the original Blade Runner. Now they are being produced by a man named Neander Wallace, played by Jared Leto. And this guy is one weird, interesting, and just downright cool looking dude. I mean, look at those eyes. Needless to say, he seems pretty sketchy throughout the film, so that's all I'm really gonna get at. I want you to know as little as you can going into this film, because there are some very, very interesting things, reveals, twists, implications about this film that you're going to be seeing throughout the whole thing. It's a very visually and cinematically wonderful film. It starts off mostly revolving around Officer K and how he's trying to find out where his past comes from. He starts to have these memories. He's not sure if they were implanted memories or if they're real, so he's trying to understand more about himself and figure out how he ties into the grand scheme of things. Now, if I have a single gripe about this movie, really, it's that it's pretty long. It's about 2 hours and 45 minutes. So if you're someone who goes into the theater hoping to be really entertained, just be aware, maybe go to a theater where you're going to be able to sit comfortably for that long. You're not going to have to use the bathroom. Also, make sure you have some of the best video and audio quality that you can possibly get with this film. But if you're like me and there's a local theater nearby where sometimes that audio can be a little bit too loud, yeah, you might want to be careful going to that theater, because there will be moments in this film where you're just watching, it's pretty quiet, nothing's really happening, and then out of nowhere you'll just hear a loud boom. And some of that can kind of hurt your ears a little bit, just a little bit. But with it being so long, that comes with drawn out moments. There's a lot of time to really soak in all the detail, the atmosphere of this film. They want you to be as immersed in this world as possible, which I personally love. But that might not be for everyone. So you really got to think about, is this the right type of film for you? I mean, when we look back at the original Blade Runner and all the different changes they took and all the things that had to take place before it could get to the final cut, it wasn't the most successful movie and had a huge cult following after. I don't know. This movie, I think, is going to perform better for sure, but we'll see how the audience likes it. That's going to be the really interesting thing. Perhaps it'll end up being in a similar fashion where our audiences weren't as thrilled with it at first, and then maybe we'll get different cuts. I don't think that's going to happen. From the looks of it, it seems like people are really digging it so far. And I truly think you just got to go into this as blind as possible, just not even sure what you're getting yourself into. Oh, Blade Runner, what's that? No. Well, first of all, yeah, watch the original, but go into the sequel with as little background as you can. The one thing I'll say, though, too, is there's a lot of really cool references, kind of throwbacks to the original. There's a lot of Easter eggs for those of you who are really into that sort of thing. Oh, and what was awesome, right after I watched the original film with a friend of mine, we decided to watch the 3 short films that they made in preparation for this. First of all, there's Blade Runner Blackout 2022, which is directed by the director of Cowboy Bebop, Shinichiro Watanabe. In countless interviews, he has stated how much Blade Runner became an influence for his entire career, essentially. And this 15-minute short, which I'll put a link in my video cards for you guys, is just so good. It is incredibly realistic looking, and this is animation, guys. This is an amazing piece of art that you really have to go and see right now. Not only that, but there were about 2 other short films that are about 6 minutes long. Both are directed by Luke Scott, Ridley Scott's son. The first of his films is 2036 Nexus Dawn, set about 13 years prior to the sequel film. The other is 2048 Nowhere to Run. These were really cool, really worth checking out. We learn a lot more about some of the replicants and some of the ones that we're not quite sure. You learn a lot more of sort of the ambiguous nature about them, whether some are inherently good, bad, or kind of what they went through during the blackout of the Tyrell Corporation. We also get to see how Neander Wallace came to the picture, and one of the characters in the new film played by Dave Bautista, Sapper Morton. So if you're someone like me who wants to have every little bit of Blade Runner background, at least where as far as the films go, you definitely got to check these out. That's all I have to say about this film, you guys. I think you just got to go out and check it out. Watch the original, go check this out, watch the short films, do everything you can, but make sure you get your butt in the theater and see this film as soon as possible, guys. Blade Runner 2049 is a rare sequel that stands tall as its own epically crafted piece of cinematic mastery, and that's why this film is a Dyligent pick. So guys, what did you think of Blade Runner 2049? Are you a fan of the original Blade Runner? How many times did it take you to really love it? I want to know your favorite film noir. I want to know your favorite neo-noir, cyberpunk. Tell me everything, guys. I want to know what you thought about this film. I want to know what you think about all this stuff. My name is Dylan, and if you love entertainment, subscribe to my channel while this video ends, and send me a thumbs up before you go. Thanks for watching, and stay diligent.